My name is Jack Whitaker. I flew planes for 20 years. Not just flew, I trained crews, rewrote emergency protocols, and sat in simulators long after everyone else had gone home. I wore that uniform with pride, until the morning they told me I wouldn't need it anymore. It was 7:42 a.m. when I stepped into Dylan Granger's office. He didn't look up, just motioned toward the seat across from his desk while he finished typing something into a spreadsheet. "Thanks for coming in early," he said, finally. "That's never good." Dylan was the new operations director, mid-30s, slick haircut, MBA framed behind him on the wall. Word around the terminal was he'd never flown anything heavier than a Tesla. He folded his hands and set it straight. "Jack, due to restructuring and evolving cost models, your position has been eliminated." I blinked once. That's all. Then looked past him, out the floor-to-ceiling windows behind his chair. One of our 737s was taxiing toward the runway. Flight 1817 to Boston. The pilot in that cockpit? Greg Turner. I trained him myself. Signed off on his captain's cert 2 years ago. Dylan slid a manila envelope across the desk. "Your severance package. Includes benefits transition, final payroll, and equipment return instructions." I didn't open it, just nodded. "Anything else?" I asked, keeping my voice flat. "No. HR will walk you through the exit process. You'll need to return your badge and uniform today." I stood, smoothed out my jacket out of habit. Didn't say another word. As I opened the door, he added, "Oh, and Captain Whitaker? We'll need your epaulets too." I didn't turn around, just walked out. Ellen from HR was already waiting in the hall, clipboard in hand, neutral face. Like this was routine. Like I hadn't given this airline 2 decades of my life. As we headed toward the elevators, my phone buzzed in my pocket. A message from Mason Clark. "Is it true?" I didn't answer. What could I say? That 20 years of loyalty ends in a 3-minute meeting and a folder? That the guy running flight ops thinks a line item in a spreadsheet is more important than the man who trained half his flight crew? I just kept walking. I changed in silence. The locker room was mostly empty, except for the distant hum of air vents and the sound of my boots hitting the tile floor. I hung my uniform on the hook, folded the pants with military precision, crease sharp, edges tight. It was muscle memory from my Air Force days, the kind that stays with you, even when everything else falls apart. I placed my captain's hat on top of the folded shirt. Then I saw it, taped to the inside of the locker door, a photo. My first crew at Hawthorne Air. Standing next to a beat-up training aircraft on a snowy ramp. 5 of them are captains now. 1 flies international. All of them started in this room, sweating through sim sessions with me. I stared at that photo longer than I should have. When I finally stepped out, Ellen was waiting by the badge scanner. I handed over my ID, parking pass, gate key, and yes, my epaulets. She took them without a word. "Anything else?" I asked. She hesitated, just for a second, then shook her head. "We'll be in touch regarding final paperwork." I nodded and walked out the door like a man leaving his own funeral. My car felt colder than usual. Maybe it was me. Maybe it was the fact that, for the first time in 20 years, I had nowhere to be. No crew briefing, no flight plan, no checklist. Just open time. Halfway through the drive home, my phone buzzed again. Elena Brooks. "Come up to the pilot lounge, 3rd floor. It can't end like this." I should have gone home, should have taken my envelope, opened a beer, and started pretending I didn't care. But something about that message made me turn the wheel and head back toward the terminal. By the time I got to the lounge, there were 8 of them waiting: Elena, Mason, Daniel, Thomas, and a few others, all in uniform, all dead quiet. Elena said it was urgent, I said. Thomas stepped forward. We heard what happened, Cap, and we're not okay with it. I looked around at them, my former students, my crew, my people. They didn't look angry. They looked ready. Elena, what's this really about? I asked. She didn't answer right away, just pulled out her iPad and tapped the screen a few times. You need to see this. It was a maintenance report from Flight 3462, Phoenix to Denver, 4 days ago. The incident was minor on paper. Altimeter discrepancy at takeoff resolved mid-air. But I'd seen this kind of thing before. If that sensor failed in bad weather or during landing, it could have gone a lot worse. What's the status? I asked. Cleared for service, she said. Filed as non-critical advisory. I frowned. That's not what it is. That's a Category B issue, minimum. Should have grounded the aircraft. Exactly, she said. Here's the thing. This was the original report. She swiped to another screen. Same aircraft, same date. But the report had been altered. The severity was downgraded. The signature was from a tech named Ross Harding. He left the company last month, Elena added. So who signed it? I didn't have an answer, but my gut told me I was looking at something bigger than a bad call. I tried to pull more logs, she continued, but the system booted me out, said I didn't have the right clearance. I pulled out my own phone, logged into Hawthorne's maintenance portal, got 2 pages in, then the screen went blank. Access denied. They were scrubbing it. What's going on, Jack? Daniel asked. They're hiding something, I said, and I think it started before today. Thomas leaned forward. You think Dylan's involved? I didn't respond. Not because I didn't believe it, but because I did. Suddenly the lounge felt colder. Every one of them could see it too. This wasn't about my job anymore. This was about something a hell of a lot more dangerous. Someone's manipulating maintenance logs, Elena said quietly, and they're using ex-employees to do it on paper. I nodded slowly, which means someone's playing fast and loose with FAA compliance. Someone could die, Mason added. I looked around the room. 8 pairs of eyes, former students, trusted pilots. They weren't scared. They were waiting. My phone rang while I was still in the lounge. Richard Kane. I hadn't heard his voice in over 2 years. Founder of Hawthorne Air. Retired when his son took over. A real pilot's pilot. Jack, he said, voice low and steady. I just got off a call with someone at the board. They said you agreed to retire. I let out a quiet breath. That's not exactly how it went down. No, he growled. I didn't think so. You trained half the damn cockpit crew on this coast. You don't just retire without notice. There was a pause. Listen, he said, lowering his voice. I've got a contact at Apex Jet, Vincent Huang, CEO. He's been building out their training division. I told him about you. He's interested. You up for a conversation? I looked around the lounge. Mason was pacing by the windows. Elena still had the iPad in her hand, face pale. Something inside me said, not yet. Appreciate it, Richard, but I can't walk away. Not now. Didn't think you would, he said, but I'll set up the intro anyway. Monday morning. Just don't sign anything from Hawthorne till then. I hung up and sat down slowly. The door creaked as someone entered. Nick from maintenance, still in coveralls. "You got a minute?" he asked, eyes darting around. "Sure." He pulled up a chair. "I heard what happened, but that's not why I'm here." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a flash drive. "That altimeter error on flight 3462? The full report was in our logs 2 days ago. Now it's gone. Not overwritten. Deleted. The whole block of data. And the software Dylan brought in last quarter? It's got admin override capability. I think they're wiping logs." "Why come to me?" I asked. "Because I know you're the only one who won't bury it." I took the drive. Outside, the sky over Chicago was turning gray. A storm was coming, literally and otherwise. "Nick," I said, "did you keep a copy of the last data pull?" He nodded. "Encrypted, off-site. I don't trust their servers anymore." Smart kid. I slipped the drive into my coat pocket. Suddenly, this wasn't about a spreadsheet. It wasn't even about my job. It was about who gets to decide what's safe and who pays the price when it's not. I didn't sleep much that night, not because of anger. That part was behind me. What kept me awake was the realization that if we didn't act carefully, methodically, we'd lose everything. Not just our jobs, our credibility. By morning, I had a plan. Simple, quiet, effective. First step, protect the evidence. I met Elena at the small cafe near the airport. Off-site, away from cameras, away from anyone with a badge and a reason to ask questions. We both brought laptops. She had already cloned the maintenance reports onto a secure drive. Nick's data confirmed the same pattern. Critical issues downgraded. Digital footprints erased. But we needed more. "You still have that sim room key?" I asked. Elena raised an eyebrow. "You want to record something?" I nodded. That afternoon, we entered the training simulator building. Most staff were off-site. No scheduled sessions. Elena installed a discrete camera in the instructor's terminal, pointed toward the briefing area where Dylan often held optimization reviews with the junior engineers. "If he talks, we'll get it," she said. Next step, outside pressure. I called Rachel Devine, an old friend and investigative reporter who broke the Midwest Air cargo scandal back in 2016. She didn't need a long pitch. "You're telling me Hawthorne's cooking FAA records? I'm telling you I have data, video, and witnesses," I replied, "but I'm not asking you to publish yet. I need insurance." "Understood. Send me a dead drop link. I'll keep it locked down." Then I opened an encrypted cloud vault and uploaded everything we had so far, marked Red Line Protocol. If anything happened to me, Rachel would know where to look. By evening, the team had grown. Word had spread. More pilots joined our off-duty briefings. Not a union strike, not even a walkout, just concerned professionals asking hard questions. Thomas showed up last. "You're really going through with this?" I looked at the group. 10 pilots, 2 engineers, 1 reporter, 1 USB drive. "We're not taking down the company," I said. "We're just refusing to let it take us down with it." The others nodded. This wasn't revenge, it was accountability, and we were just getting started. The first cancellation came just before dawn. Flight 2294 to Dallas. Mason Clark was assigned captain. He called in citing crew readiness and unresolved safety concerns. No one questioned it. Legally, he was protected. By noon, 4 more flights were grounded for similar reasons. I sat in the cafe again, same corner booth, watching the Hawthorne internal flight board refresh. Delayed. Canceled. Canceled. A quiet resistance was spreading, one cockpit at a time. Then came the call from Dylan. Jack, we need to talk. We met in one of the briefing rooms. Glass walls, fluorescent lights, and that stiff corporate air freshener smell. He wasn't alone. Colin Hawthorne Jr., the CEO, stood near the door, arms folded, jaw tight. You've made your point, Colin said flatly. Whatever this is, it ends now. This is a safety stand-down, I replied, and it's not mine. It belongs to every pilot who's seen those logs. Dylan stepped forward. You're not employed here. You don't speak for anyone. I didn't flinch. But I trained most of them, and I know when they're worried. Colin's voice dropped. What's your angle, Jack? You want your job back? A payout? I looked him dead in the eye. I want clean aircraft in the air. I want the logs to match reality. I want the person who authorized data tampering held accountable. They said nothing. Just then, FAA inspectors walked in. 2 of them, badges ready. Rachel had pulled the trigger, not for headlines, yet, just enough to get the agency's attention. We're here for a surprise audit, one of them said. Flight ops and maintenance records, full access. Dylan turned pale. Colin muttered something under his breath and left the room. I followed the inspectors as they began pulling records. Elena joined us with the USB drive. By evening, 12 more flights were canceled, and the FAA had already flagged 3 maintenance reports for discrepancy escalation. Before I left, I walked past Dylan in the hallway. He didn't speak, just stared like a man who'd bet everything and knew he'd lost, and I wasn't done yet. 3 weeks later, I stood on the tarmac at Apex Jet's new training facility. Morning sun rising behind a row of clean white hangars. The place still smelled like fresh paint and ambition. Vincent Huang had delivered on every promise. 6 full-motion simulators, classrooms with VR emergency drills, a lounge with real leather chairs, and decent coffee, because even flight instructors deserve something better than break room sludge. He gave me one instruction when we signed the contract. Build it the right way, your way. And I did. At exactly 9 o'clock a.m., a line of black sedans pulled into the lot. Doors opened. 32 pilots stepped out, uniforms left behind, flight bags slung over shoulders, familiar faces I'd trained for years. Elena was first to reach me. Still feel like the right decision? I smiled. Feels like the first right decision Hawthorne didn't make. She laughed, then turned to look at the building. Nice setup you've got here, Captain. Not mine, I said. Ours. Inside the main hall, Vincent greeted the pilots personally. No speeches, just a handshake, a contract, and a seat at the table. Halfway through the orientation, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I stepped outside to take it. Jack, this is Marcus DeWitt. I'm the new chairman at Hawthorne. The board forced Colin out. Dylan's gone too. I didn't say anything. We'd like to talk, he continued, about bringing you back in a leadership role. I looked across the lot. One of the new Dreamliners was taxiing toward the hangar, sunlight glinting off the fuselage. Elena was in the cockpit, smooth as ever. You don't need me, I said quietly. You need a fresh start. Jack? I already took mine, I replied, and hung up. Later that day, I stood on the observation deck with Vincent, watching our next class of recruits arrive. You think Hawthorne's going to recover? He asked. I shrugged. Maybe, but not with shortcuts. Not with spreadsheets pretending to be safety standards. Vincent nodded. Glad you're here? Me too, I said. That night, I reviewed the final roster for our inaugural training class. 32 names, all of them once mine, and now ours again. No revenge, no headlines. Just 32 pilots, and one stubborn instructor, building something better from scratch. Sometimes the best way to respond is to fly a better route.